Joining us now, Democrat State Senator, my BFF, and great guy, and he actually is holding the line together in the state Senate. He is a moderate Democrat, a dying breed, and he's with us now, Joe Morrissey. Senator, great to have you here in the John Fredericks Radio Network.
Good morning, John. Honored to be on your show again, and want to say I love the re-entry with BD. That was terrific.
See, Joe, the millennials don't get Bob Dylan. See, you and I are the same age. See, we get him, right? Right? You remember jamming as a young man like I do, right? You have a tough day, right? You put on that Bob Dylan, right? Remember that? But these millennials, they don't get it.
Iconic hero to our generation, and of course, everybody knows I'm in my early 40s. So
you were listening to him when you were 5.
There you go. You got it. Anyway, great to chat with you again. Hope you had a wonderful New Year, and we got a beautiful Tuesday morning. The world is going to be good, John.
Okay, so what's going on in the State House? You guys are going into session Wednesday here in Virginia.
Sure.
We just talked to one of our Georgia legislators. They're doing voter reform. The first thing you guys, they're trying to throw Amanda Chase out, one of the senators you got in Chesterfield. What's up with that?
Well, I'm not sure where you got your source, where you got your information, but let me just answer your first question, and then I'll segue into Amanda. Yep, we go into session tomorrow, 45 days. Having gone through the special session in the summer, it seems like we're almost continually down at the GA, but we're not even at the GA, we're at the Science Museum. And every senator is limited to 12 bills. Every legislator is limited to 12 bills. So hopefully, which is probably a good thing. Now, let me talk about, you mentioned Amanda, and I don't want to duck that question because that's not how I roll. Let me just say this. What's been in the paper regarding Senator Chase, who has been removed from Facebook and maybe other social media accounts, I believe is absolutely wrong. Now, here's why. First of all, in this day and age, we communicate with vis-a-vis social media. Senators communicate with their constituents, with lobbyists, with stakeholders in various bills. And how do they do it? Not through letters, not through press releases. They do it through social media, Facebook, emailing, that type of thing, where they are feeling the pulse of their constituents in the community. To remove somebody from that social media because you don't believe in their thought process, because you don't subscribe to their ideas, even if you find their ideas anathema to yours, that's the wrong way to go. It's chilling free speech. It's denying a sitting legislator a manner, a way to communicate with her constituents who elected him or her. All right? And if you don't like that senator or that delegate, then you have an option, and it's at the ballot box.
Mm-hmm.
It's not through censure.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel so strongly about that. And Amanda, here, she's an interesting person, and she's had some difficult roads. She has been kicked out of her own party, the Republican Party,
Mm-hmm.
because she did not buy into some of their ideology, and she locked horns with the head of the the titular head of the Republican Senate, Tommy Norment, and
Mm-hmm.
other leaders.
Mm-hmm.
So they booted her out, and she has no friends on the Republican side. The Democrats, she has almost no friends on that side. And they do, and they can be very hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
So she sits literally in the corner of the General Assembly, and she has a bubble around her made of plastic,
Mm-hmm.
because she does not wear a mask, which also infuriates both R's and D's.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go into what her medical condition is, but she has a bubble around her, doesn't wear a mask, and she has everything but a scarlet letter tattooed to her forehead.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what?
Mm.
With all of that, she is the most likely candidate to win the Republican nomination for governor. She has a following that is second to none.
Agreed.
And last year during the General Assembly, I was telling some of my Democratic colleagues, if you underestimate Amanda Chase, you do so at your own peril. And they look at me, what are you doing, Joe? What are you saying? Because they are just, here's what you do. You surround yourself with a group of people that are all saying the same thing, call them senators. I'm one of them. If you don't go outside that insular bubble, you don't know you can't gather the pulse of the larger community. It's like lawyers. They're all in this group together, and they talk to each other at the courthouses. They gossip, and they have that insular world, but they don't know what's going on unless they step outside of that circle of lawyers and look around. So step outside of our Senate circle, and here's what you see. You see a woman that is drawing large crowds wherever she goes. I have been in many, many political races. I have hats, shirts, and signs. Let me tell you something, John. I would walk a half a mile up your driveway to put a sign in your front yard, and nobody on the road sees it, but you see it when you come out. You see, and guess what? She's got people buying signs for $10, buying shirts for $15, buying a Chase for Governor hats for $25. Let me repeat that. They are buying her signs to put in her yard. Now, there's no other candidate, there's no other senator out there. None. There was no gubernatorial candidate. There's no statewide candidate where people buy your signs, hats, and shirts, but they're buying Amanda Chase's. So she's drawing large crowds. She has proclamations and philosophy and ideology that many of us don't agree with, okay? But guess what? That is her opinion. And whether it is because she thinks it sells in her statewide run or whether she truly believes it, that doesn't matter. It is the words that are coming out of her mouth that she is uttering, and it is opinion and it is protected speech. And to censor that is fundamentally wrong. Now, I'll give you an example. There's a number of things. I'll give the 4 or 5 highlights. She has called Democrats traitors. Okay? I think that is absolutely false. That's her opinion, and she's saying it. She's called the protesters in Washington patriots. All right? That's her opinion. She has said that one of my close friends in the state Senate, Louise Lucas, who was charged with a felony conspiring to topple a statute, should be in jail. And every 39 other senators violently disagree. But that's her opinion, all right? And so the things that she's espousing, many find abhorrent. But guess what? It is her opinion that has to be protected.
Right.
One Supreme Court justice, and then I'll pause, said it best. He said, protecting speech that we agree with, that's the easy part. Protecting speech that we loathe, that's the hard part, but that's what we have to do. So, and I'll end by saying, Amanda Chase was at the rally in Washington, D.C. She spoke, all right? She said, I'm told, now go on up to the Capitol. She didn't say go on up to the Capitol and take it over. She didn't say go on to the Capitol and storm it. So I'm just, John, I'm troubled that we are going to try to limit that voice. It is 1/40th of the Commonwealth of Virginia. It's 1/40th of the state senators, and she was elected by that group. And listen, if they find her speech abhorrent, if they find it difficult, if they find it offensive, guess what they'll do?
Vote her out.
They'll vote against her.
They'll vote her out.
That's the way our system works.
Right, you vote her out.
It's not up to legislators to vote her out.
You're 100% right, Joe, and thank you for that. And, the problem with being silenced, if it was Amanda Chase being silenced, or if it was, pick one of the most liberal people running for governor, the guy, the House member there from Manassas, Lee Carter. If Lee Carter was silenced, I would be equally as outraged, and I would have him on my show, and I'd be defending him. Because they have a right to say whatever they say, and you don't have a right. I mean, the danger here of what Facebook did at the beginning of a General Assembly, at the beginning of session, where there's limited communication, there's no offices. You guys are at the Science Museum. You've let media in. Thank you for doing that, and thanks Susan Chair for doing that. So you have some transparency, but people can't come in and meet with you. You can't go to your office. To limit her voice when that's her platform is very scary to me. And she's also a leading candidate for governor. So what do you have now? You have the tech giants will decide who, if the candidates they don't like can't have their platform. I mean, what the hell kind of a system's that? I mean, now you're getting into communist land now, where, the government basically controls what you say. That's why it's outrageous. And the people that are cheering, even Republicans I'm seeing on Facebook, good thing you deplatformed them. She said crazy things. She shouldn't have a voice. I mean, hey, guess what? Today it's Amanda Chase. You know who it is tomorrow? You. Okay? You're next. That's why this is insane. And for the Democratic caucus or who's ever doing it to try to throw her out, you want to censor her, fine. You can do whatever you want. But, expelling her? You have the right to expel her. The voters expel her. It's outrageous behavior. She has a right to her opinion. And she is a leading candidate for governor right now.
Yep.
Glenn Youngkin thinks he can come in with $230 million that he got by selling our jobs out to China and depressing our wages. That's how he made his money in China. It's right on their website. And they think they can come in and buy it? I don't think so. But, hey, the voters will decide whether it's a caucus, however they're doing it, unassembled convention, whatever. They'll decide. Joe, let's go to the General Assembly, and let's go to
John, before
go ahead.
Let me just say, I'm glad that you brought up Lee Carter, because you brought up a Democrat who's an avowed socialist.
Yep.
All right? And I don't agree with that.
Right.
I believe in capitalism. I've started several businesses. I've meet payrolls. I believe in that form of free enterprise, okay? But I would protect to my dying breath Lee Carter's right to espouse his views. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you this. I'll go a step further. If we elected a communist, if a House district or Senate district elected a communist, those voters in that House district or Senate district elected him, you don't then say, you know what? I'm going to kick you out. What right do I have, because I don't agree with your views, to kick you out? So that's what we're saying. We may not agree with that body politic of ideas or that marketplace of ideas, but we don't censor it. I hope that saner minds will prevail. Sorry, wanted to get that in. Your go.
Well, thank you. Let's talk about the upcoming General Assembly. You guys go in session Wednesday. Just so everybody knows, in Virginia, the state senators, 40 of them are meeting at the Science Museum, open to the media, so they're accessible to media. TheVirginiaStar.com will be covering that, so will our radio show. I just want to thank you guys for that. The House not meeting in person. They're doing Zoom. Can't have access. Got to do a email or something. Very limited media engagement. But I just want to commend the Senate. Democratic-controlled Senate, by the way. A majority leader, the Godfather Dick Saslaw, Scott Servell, his lieutenant there. Joe, I know you're a big part of it, but you guys, thank you for doing that. Under a tough circumstance, at least you're accessible to the media. We got a seat there, and thank you. You got a press conference tomorrow. I just got this. I want you to elaborate on it. You got a press conference tomorrow at 10 a.m. at the Science Museum. Yourself, Senator Siobhan Donovan, Republican Henrico, and Senator Chap Peterson, Democrat Fairfax. You guys have a press conference tomorrow on a plan to open schools in Virginia. Can you elaborate?
I can. First, with regard to meeting at the Science Museum, and then I'll get to the press conference. And kudos to Susan Shar and her wonderful staff. We are meeting in person at the Science Museum. We take precautions, temperature checks, masks, 6 feet distancing. We meet in person. There are, along the perimeter, as a media, covering it. Mm-hmm. That's the way politics need to be covered. It has to be as transparent as you possibly can. Mm-hmm. You have to be out in the sunshine. Mm-hmm. And people outside have to see what is going on in that body. So kudos to our Senate staff for making that come to fruition. And yes, that begins tomorrow. With respect to the press conference, it's real simple. There are many of us that believe that we need to open schools, okay? Mm-hmm. That local school boards, or even worse, teacher unions,
right,
should not be deciding how to close schools.
Right.
And Chap is a fellow Democrat. Siobhan is a Republican leader in the Senate.
Right.
And I am one of the cogs in the machine on the other Democratic side. But we all agree that schools should be brick and mortar. Now, here are the facts. John, I have 4 little kids, all right? They were all enrolled in public schools, and 3 of them were, then one of them was still at Goddard. But they were ready to go into the schools, and then they decided to close down. I disenrolled them and re-enrolled them all at All Saints Catholic School, mm-hmm. where they'd been before, brick and mortar. Now, John, you drop those kids off. They get temperature checks. They wear their mask. I don't care if you're 3 years old and are junior pre-K or whatever the hell they call it, K or 1 through, you wear your mask. The classroom 6 feet apart. And guess how many COVID cases they've got?
0.
Yes. And other private schools that are doing that same thing. Hanover was a local district that was also meeting in brick and mortar. I'm not sure the latest what they're doing now, but that's where kids need to be. Now, if a parent decides that they don't want that and they want their child to do virtual, by all means, do it. Do virtual. But there are numerous private and parochial schools throughout the area for these young kids, and there's no COVID outbreak. Now, listen to what I've just said. I'm talking about private or parochial. That costs what? Money. So there's no question that those children, my children, others that can avail themselves of a private education, are leaps and bounds ahead of these other students. Mm-hmm. Because mark my words, these kids, if they don't go back until September 2021, mm-hmm. they will have lost 18 months
it's incredible.
Of education.
It's incredible.
Do not tell me
it's incredible.
Sitting around
it's sick.
the kitchen table with Granny trying to work her way through internet.
Yep.
Mom calling from
ridiculous.
home.
What about the teachers union had in Virginia yesterday? We had it in the Virginia Star. Go to thevirginiastar.com. What about the teachers union had yesterday saying no in school until every teacher's vaccinated? What the hell's that? What?
Okay.
What?
First of all, that can be an easy done getting them vaccinated. But here's what I have a problem with. Many of these, the teacher unions, here's what's interesting. And I'm on the front lines, and I've talked to them. A lot of the younger teachers that are just getting started, they wanted to be in the classroom, mm-hmm. eager, enthusiastic. Mm-hmm. Not so much. Wanted to stay home in the pajamas and get the paycheck, or maybe have another job. There were some teachers that had getting a full-time paycheck and then getting another job, okay? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Many teachers objected to having to go into the school even though it was virtual. I was a proponent saying, whoa. You're getting your paycheck. You go into the classroom from 8 to 4, 8 to 3. You sit in that empty classroom and you teach virtually all day. we're not giving you a free paycheck to take another second job. And what really irked me was one Chesterfield County teacher. And by the way, notice that I'm not afraid to call folk out, John. Please be mindful.
Right, Joe.
Was publicly commenting about, I love teaching, but I don't want to die, i.e. catch COVID, to pursue my profession. But then they showed a clip of her on her Facebook where she was at a party with 30 or 40 young people drinking, dancing, and guess what they weren't wearing?
Masks.
Yes.
Right. So pay me so I can stay home, and that I don't want to die doing my job, but then you go out and party. That's the hypocrisy of it, and that's what's pissing people off. And look, Joe, you nailed it. Our kids, luckily, by the grace of God, we have the means to send them to Catholic school. And I just said this to Ann the other day, and I said it to my older son who teaches high school in Mississippi. The advantage that they have an 18-month competitive advantage in the world against kids their own age in public school that'll never get that 18 months back. And it's a huge advantage they have, and it's only because we had the means to do that. There are a lot of people that don't have that, and so they're getting screwed. And this attitude of, they got to be vaccinated. I mean, have you vaccinated every worker at Walmart, Home Depot? Have they all been vaccinated? But hey, these are the same people. They're going to Trader Joe's and they're going to the boutique, grocery stores. They're not vaccinated, but that's fine, right? But then we can't teach our children, right? Give me a break. Joe, thank you. I'm out of time. Senator Joe Morrissey, Democrat, Petersburg. Thank you, Joe. Thanks for all you do. John Fredericks Radio Network.